Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I think I finally ran out of patience. Welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and today I've decided I want to accelerate a couple of my series up very, very quick like. And one of those series, the thing and spending splurge, blah. Anyway, what I wanted to do was I wanted to record every single episode of the Ability Almanac and Crushing catalog that I could, and release them all as daily episodes. Yes, daily episodes until I had finished. So I was going to follow in Fatality Friday order, but I'm going to be completely honest. I feel like the daily upload thing is the smart thing to do. So I'm going to be recording all of the Ability Almanacs first, then all of the Crushing catalogs, and then I'm going to work my way, edit all of those, and get them ready to be uploaded daily, remember, until I get through every single character. Now you might be asking, but what about the DLC characters? Right? Those guys are going to be on the original schedule, which would be a couple of days after, well actually no. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to release their Ability Almanac and Crushing catalogs the day before Fatality Friday. So all Crushing blows and all abilities will be seen the day before their big Fatal Blow, or Fatality Friday Season 2 showcase. So how am I going to do this? I'm actually going to do this from left to right, top to bottom. So it would start with Johnny Cage, move through all of the Special Forces peeps, and any duplicates I run into, like Raiden, I'm just going to skip. So that means it'll be Scorpion, Noob, and Baraka, skip Raiden, get to Jackie and Sub-Zero. And then just go through the list until we hit Cetrion. And that will end Ability Almanac and the Crushing catalog. But we're going to record all the Ability Almanac stuff right now, so let's get to it. Frost was a character who was first introduced in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and since then she has really evolved into her own. Originally people saw her as just kind of a female clone of Sub-Zero with a few light unique gimmicks, and was just angry all the time. Now she's still angry all the time and still has her cryogenic abilities, but thanks to Kronika's influence, she's able to weaponize any part of her body, including her own skull, and spin her pieces of her body basically separate from the rest because she is a unique sort of cyber ninja in a sense. I kind of like to call it the 2077 effect, because if you've seen Cyberpunk 2077 and some of the crazy mods some people have in that game, wowza. Anyway, the first ability I want to talk about is a 2-slot ability called Cryogenic Crown. Look familiar? This is a ice bomb based off of her head, where Frost will send out her head to be a little bomb that will explode, freezing the opponent in place. And the very far version actually goes further than full screen, making it almost impossible to land unless you decide to move closer and the opponent tries to back up. So this is almost, very far Cryogenic Crown is almost purpose-built to be anti-zoning. And finally, we have Air Ice Quake, which can only be done in the air, and allows Frost to fly down to the ground and slide low. She can do this off of a short hop, and the slide covers almost full screen. But not quite, if done off of a short hop. But because of its mid-hitting properties in the air, this can also be used to clip opponents in the air. Hang on. And on jump-ins, fly below certain projectiles and slide right into them for a low. Time to move on to the next loadout. Core Overload allows Frost to buff herself up. While this is active, all core-based attacks will do about 20% more damage. So this means moves like her sweep and this string get stronger. So, easy. Allowing for more damage off of the core. When amplified, a timer will start to go off, and will still do the same damage buff. But eventually, a powerful explosion launches people into the air and damages Frost. Very much like the Predator in Mortal Kombat X. Auger Lunge sees Frost slide right forward using the drills, the ice drills that she's a big fan of in this particular build of her in Mortal Kombat 11. When amplified, she will slam them down and drag the opponent across, allowing for some excellent corner carry. So from here, the opponent is practically in the corner. Microburst is a 2-hitting special that is a proximity attack. So if opponents try and teleport, she can still hit them. And this move actually is affected by Core Overload, meaning that this could be a good sort of combo ender. If I can do this right. For decent damage. And when amplified, a bigger burst comes out that freezes the opponent in place, allowing for combo potential. Although it doesn't quite hit with all the range that you would want it to. Time to move on to the next loadout. Core Trap is another 2-slot ability, and one of the few moves in the game that requires meter to actually use. Frost will throw this out, and the opponent will be stuck inside of this Core Trap. Now, as long as they're inside of the middle, they're completely safe, and nothing bad really happens. But if they touch the border of the trap, they will begin to freeze and take damage over time, as long as they're staying within the borders. You can see the damage lasts quite a while. However, it should be noted that if you miss with Core Trap, the move just will not work and you've wasted a bar. And there are 2 different versions. Or 3 different versions. We have close, we have normal, and we have far. But not a very far version, and this move does not reach full screen. Worth noted, well, this is something that I just noted, Core Overload also works with Core Overload also works with Core Trap, allowing you to get more damage over time with the sort of barrier. Time to move on to the next loadout. I can't remember which of these is actually 2 slots. I'll put a correction below where I'm crouching right now. But Ice Auger is a straight projectile that doesn't have a lot of range, and is really there as a check. You use this for some potential combo shenanigans, especially when amplified. And you can amplify it for a second one that allows for some combo potential, but not very much. Borrowing Auger allows her to throw an ice drill below the ground that then launches towards the opponent. One thing to keep in mind is that, I'm just going to quickly set him to jump, is that the drills have limited tracking. Oh, and the normal drill also crushing blows, just so you know. But you'll see how in the crushing catalog. Going up later today. And yes, the Borrowing Auger can also track. And the meter burn version also has more range, but is not a true projectile. It doesn't go like full screen foreversies. But that's worth keeping. But that's something just to keep in mind. Time to move on to the next loadout. As soon as I turn off Kano from being super jumpy all the time. Glacier Calving is a projectile shield that Frost fires out. It doesn't last very long, it doesn't go very far, but Frost can kind of walk up behind it and stop zoners. One-time projectile stoppage means that Frost can at least begin to jump and say advance in with Ice Quake, or her other ability, Arctic Barrage, which conflicts with the Ice Drill. So you cannot use Auger Lunge with this. You have to use either or, which makes sense because they have the same input. Glacier Calving can be meter burned to travel faster and for longer, allowing for more distance traveled while the Glacier Calving is active, so that you can advance on projectiles and catch anybody trying to throw a second projectile, like say Kano throwing a second knife, to get past this projectile, to leap over said projectile, and move in for attacks. Arctic Barrage is a double overhead, and as I mentioned, can be used to follow up with Glacier Calving. And when amplified, hits low, but I believe can only be amplified on hit. We'll double check. Yes, it can only be amplified on hit, so you don't have a 50-50 situation here, where it's overhead, overhead, low. Teamed up with low, overhead, overhead, low. But you do have a little bit of mix at the beginning with, say, the first low. And finally, of course, we have Air Ice Quake in this particular variation. Time for our tournament variation. Frostbite features a pretty potent combination of abilities. Cryogenic Crown, even though it looks like a low, is actually a mid. However, this still pairs up really well with Arctic Barrage, in that, if timed properly, you get a little extra damage to boot. Ice Machine brings Glacier Calving, Auger Lunge, and Microburst to the party. And now we've got now we have Frost's Fatal Blow, and then Frame Data. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to be awesome, and we'll see you next time.